Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Perspectives, the Home Edition. We're taping this on Thursday, November 5th, and I got to tell you, I got statistics and numbers running through my head so bad I'm almost cross-eyed again. But they'll get it settled, and we'll know here in a day or two. It just takes time. And for the benefit of those who might have tuned in and say, well, it shouldn't be taking so long. Oh, yeah, it should, because we've had record turnouts all over the United States. And a great many of those votes have been cast on hand ballots that were submitted later and mailed or delivered. So they're going through those now. So just relax, and we'll all get through this together. I want to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine mentioned to me, have you ever heard of the banned book list? And I said, no, I'm afraid not. And I'd been to a goat roping and a couple of county fairs and thought I knew just about everything there was to know about things out there, but I didn't know there was a list of banned books. So joining us today is Sara Peterson. Sara is with the Tulsa City County Library and is here to shed some light on it. Sara, first of all, welcome. It's good to have you on board.
Thank you so much for having me be here.
Sara is the System-Wide Products Director. So is it true there are banned books?
It is true in a certain sense of the word. It used to be that actually governments would ban books and authors could actually go to jail for certain books. We're not really talking about books like that, but there are routinely books that are challenged in both school and public libraries that are asked to be removed from the collection.
Well, let me back up just a little bit. You mean our government would ban books and you could go to jail if you had them out there?
Well, the people who had the books often didn't go to jail, but some of the authors would end up in a bit of trouble. It's been a very long time since that happened. Ulysses by James Joyce was, I think, the last book considered obscene by the United States government.
Really?
So that doesn't happen anymore. But there are still a lot of people who are concerned about the books in our collections and ask us to remove some of them. How does
a book wind up on the banned list in this part of the country?
Well, both public and school libraries, this is an issue that we've had to deal with for a very, very long time. In fact, we have a banned book weeks at the end of September every year that deals with this issue, talks about, highlighting the value of the freedom to read. But most public and school libraries will get challenges during the year where somebody will come into the library and say, I don't think that you should have this book in your collection.
Really?
And so we generally have a process in place to handle that.
And that's all it takes, a simple complaint or nose in the air about a book, somebody's upset about it.
I would say that we do take the challenges very seriously. Most people who challenge books are doing so with the best of intentions. They have a real concern that the books are presenting difficult ideas or thoughts and are concerned often for children, but sometimes for all age groups. And they have a real concern that this is something that shouldn't be in our collection. We actually do take all of those challenges seriously and take a close look at the books. And we get together a group of 3 or 4 staff members. They go over professional reviews. They look at how many other libraries own the books. They look at how well those books are circulating in our collection, how many times people have checked them out. And we, as a group, then talk about the benefits and drawbacks of the material and come up with a decision. And then we always, of course, reach out and let the person who challenged the book know what that decision is. And also always encourage them to suggest additional books they'd like to see in the collection, as well as encouraging them to reach out to librarians if they need help finding things in our collection that they would prefer to read as opposed to the book that they found and challenged.
Has anyone, well, before I ask that question, let me ask you this. Is there a criteria, or does it just take a ban to get it pulled?
There is no, there's certainly no regional or national or somebody can challenge a book at Tulsa City County Library, but no matter what our decision is, that would only impact us.
Sure.
That would not impact anybody else. So they're all local decisions.
Well, has anybody ever tried to get the Old Testament pulled?
Not while I have been working here. No.
I had to ask. Have you some books with you that have been pulled?
Sorry.
Do you have some books with you that are on the endangered species list?
I have a few examples here, and these are well, Catcher in the Rye is one of the most challenged books of all time.
Really?
It is. They really don't like the attitude of the main protagonist, and this definitely always ends up on one of the most challenged books list. A Clockwork Orange is another one that has a lot of language in it, and that one ends up on the list. Some more recent things, although Harry Potter's been around a long time, Harry Potter always ends up on the most challenged lists every year, usually for magic or witchcraft or issues like that.
You're kidding? For magic?
Right. There actually was a person in one community, I believe it was a minister, who had determined that the spells in Harry Potter were accurate and could actually be used, and so that was very dangerous. So yeah, it's been an interesting run for the Harry Potter books. And then this is I Am Jazz.
Yeah.
It's a more recent book about a transgender child. So yeah, there's a list put out by ALA every year that lists the 10 most challenged books of the year. They also collect lists of the books most challenged by decade. It's very interesting to see.
Do you find that the books people are upset about in this neck of the woods are the same as the books complained about in other parts of the United States?
I would say that overall, the Tulsa City County Library gets very few reconsideration requests. I don't know how we compare to other parts of the country. In the most recent 8 months, of course, we haven't seen any reconsiderations. People have been a little concerned with other things. Previous to that, and the year before that, I would say we were mostly looking at DVDs that people didn't appreciate the content of them, vulgarity or sexual content, or they just didn't like that content. But overall, we don't get a ton of reconsiderations in the area, but I would say probably if you looked over the history of reconsiderations, they're probably fairly similar to what's generally happening throughout the rest of the country.
I just wonder if there is any kind of a movement among authors to say, hey, I want to be on the banned list. You know, back when President Nixon had the enemies list, a lot of folks felt disappointed they weren't on that list. So
I will say that getting your book challenged is incredibly beneficial to authors generally. Book sales go up a great deal when your book is challenged in a very visible way. So yes, most authors are generally not discouraged when their books are challenged.
So if you wrote, being silly for a minute, if you wrote a book about, let's say, a fire hydrant, and on the front of the book, you on the dust cover, you wrote, this book contains graphic language, sexual overtones, and so on and so forth. It might get banned, but, people would sure learn a lot about fire hydrants, wouldn't they?
Very possibly, yeah. Those big red stickers get people's attention, that's for sure.
When I was a boy growing up many, many years ago, long before you were in this world, my family, although I didn't come from, an affluent background, my family felt it was important to read, even if it was just Life or Look or the Saturday Evening Post. You couldn't go wrong, though, with a book in your hand. And I recall in grade school, there were books on the shelf that, if you were in the third or fourth or fifth grade, there were books there that were sixth, seventh, and eighth grade level, and you were encouraged to check them out and try to read them. I really hate to see us get into and I know this has been around, for a long time, but I'd hate to see us get into this book banning thing where it's so serious we have, movements to burn them.
Right, and I really don't believe that is what's happening. We have had this banned books week for years, and many people have suggested that we change the name of it because challenges are relatively rare, and what we really use that week for is to celebrate the freedom to read. I think we do find that parents and teachers are encouraging kids to read and to challenge themselves on what they read. Public libraries have very much committed to the American Library Association has a statement called Freedom to Read, where we really commit to making sure that we have a wide variety of materials. It's a very diverse world. It's a very diverse community here in Tulsa. And we want to make sure that we have all kinds of things that people, so that they can see themselves, but also so they can learn about other people. And for various issues, we want to make sure we don't present just one side of the story. We want to make sure we seek out, we relish lifelong learners, and we have so many in our community. And we want to make sure that we're providing as many viewpoints, as many expressions of those viewpoints, so that people can read widely, become very knowledgeable, and then make their own decisions about the various issues of the day. And so while it can be discouraging to think of books being challenged or banned, in reality, it does happen. There are still a lot more people who really want to use the library and our books to learn as much as they can about everything they can.
Well, just for the record, I have my library card, and I've encouraged people ever since I've lived here. I've encouraged people to get a card to the library and use it. Read as much as you can. It is amazing how far you can travel with a book. And we live in an interesting time, Sarah, in that, and I'm not talking about politics for just a minute, but we live in an interesting time where we have the internet, which may prove to be the destruction of newspapers. We still have periodicals. We still have brochures that come in, magazines, and we have so many books available to read that you can check a review on the internet and decide whether or not you want to read it. It's just an interesting area that we're treading through at this point. And I got to tell you, I think you folks at the library do a bang-up job of making sure that films and books and that sort of thing are on hand for everybody, to take a look at.
And we're really working to expand our offerings. We of course not only have physical books and movies, we have electronic books, e-audio books, streaming video, streaming music. We have databases. We have a press reader, which presents all the online versions of those newspapers for all the different cities out there. So we're doing our best to make sure that we're providing access to all of that. We also have something that no one else has, which is buildings that have librarians in them.
I'm sorry, say again.
We have buildings that have librarians in them, and those librarians are absolutely committed to helping people find books they'll enjoy, books that will give them information that they need, help them find jobs or help them learn more about a particular issue. So I feel like we have all the value of a wide range of resources. We're committed to providing that diverse, varied range of resources. And then we also have skilled librarians who are right there to help you as you start on a journey of trying to learn about something new.
I was working in Germany several years ago, just before I moved to Tulsa, and I had a chance to see the Gutenberg Press. And the day that I was there, I did not recognize this. I wish I'd known it, but you can have your favorite scripture for $5. You could have your favorite scripture printed on a Gutenberg Press. And I've kicked myself a dozen times for not being aware of that, because just to have anything printed on a Gutenberg would just be a wonderful treat.
It really would. That would. I'm going to have to remember that one. I might have to seek that out myself.
Well, don't miss it. It's in Frankfurt. It's where it's housed now. Listen, Sara, we're about to run out of time. Thank you for taking time out of your very hectic and busy schedule to visit with us and to bring us information about the banned book situation. And I trust that you'll keep us informed. You've got our phone number, our website. Just any breaks or changes coming up, please let us know.
We certainly will. Thank you for having me. And we're happy to see everybody at the library at any time, of course. So thank you.
Thank you, Sara. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more on Perspectives right after this.